blood, betrayal, and the moment everything changes. You think you know what's about to happen, but trust me, you have no idea what you're about to witness. This isn't just another backstage segment. This isn't just another Monday Night Raw moment. This is the explosion of months of pain, months of rage, and months of Seth Rollins waiting for the perfect moment to make Paul Heyman pay for what he did. And when I tell you this is the most brutal, most satisfying, most devastating backstage assault you'll see all year, I mean every single word. Because the visionary just became a vengeful god, and Paul Heyman is about to feel every ounce of that fury. The lights in the arena are still buzzing with energy. The crowd is still on their feet from what just happened in that ring. But what they don't know, what nobody in that building realizes yet, is that backstage, in the dark corridors of the WWE, Seth Rollins is hunting. And his target is the man who destroyed everything he built. Paul Heyman, the so-called wise man. The orchestrator of the greatest betrayal in modern WWE history. The man who took Seth's vision, Seth's faction, Seth's family, and ripped it away from him with a smile on his face. Let me take you back for just a moment. Because to understand the rage, to feel the intensity of what's coming, you need to remember where this all started. At WrestleMania 41, Paul Heyman aligned himself with Seth Rollins. He helped him defeat Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the biggest match of the year. Heyman looked Seth in the eyes and told him he was the future. He told him that together, they would build something unstoppable. And for months, they did exactly that. The Vision became the most dominant force on Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman as the mastermind pulling all the strings. They terrorized the roster. They beat down legends. Seth won the Money in the Bank briefcase. He cashed it in on CM Punk at SummerSlam and became the World Heavyweight Champion. Everything was perfect. Everything was going according to plan. But then, the cracks started to show. Braun Breaker started getting restless. Bronson Reed started questioning Seth's leadership. And Paul Heyman, the snake that he's always been, started whispering poison into their ears. You could see it happening. Week after week, Heyman's loyalty started to shift. His eyes stopped looking at Seth with respect and started looking at him with calculation. And then came the moment that changed everything. The Monday Night Raw after Crown Jewel 2025. Seth Rollins was standing in the middle of that ring, the World Heavyweight Champion, proud of what he and the Vision had accomplished. And that's when Braun Breaker's music hit. The crowd erupted. But something felt wrong. Seth's face dropped. He knew. Deep down, he knew what was coming. Braun Breaker walked to the ring with Bronson Reed right behind him. And Paul Heyman, the man Seth trusted, was smiling. Not the smile of an ally. The smile of a predator who just caught his prey. Braun didn't waste any time. He got right in Seth's face and told him that the Vision didn't need him anymore. That Seth was holding them back. That it was time for new leadership. Seth tried to reason with him. He tried to talk sense into Braun, into Reed, into Heyman. But Paul just stood there, arms crossed, watching with that smug look on his face. And then Braun struck. A devastating spear that nearly cut Seth in half. The crowd gasped. The arena went silent. And as Seth lay there, clutching his ribs, gasping for air, Bronson Reed climbed to the top rope and delivered a massive tsunami splash that crushed every bone in Seth's body. And Paul Heyman, the man who Seth believed in, the man who Seth trusted with everything, raised the arms of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed as Monday Night Raw went off the air. That image burned into the minds of every single WWE fan. Seth Rollins, broken and betrayed, lying in the center of the ring while his so-called wise men celebrated his destruction. That was weeks ago. And since then, Seth has been silent. He's been recovering. He's been plotting. And tonight, on Monday Night Raw, everything comes full circle. The camera cuts backstage. Paul Heyman is walking through the hallway, flanked by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. They're laughing, talking about their dominance, about how the Vision is stronger than ever without Seth Rollins. Heyman is holding his phone, probably texting some other superstar he's planning to manipulate next. They turn a corner, heading toward their private locker room. And that's when it happens. The lights flicker. Just for a second. Braun and Reed pause, looking around. Heyman keeps walking, oblivious. And then, out of nowhere, a figure emerges from the shadows. Seth Rollins. But this isn't the Seth Rollins we're used to seeing. This isn't the cocky, confident visionary. This is a man possessed by rage. His eyes are dark. His jaw is clenched. His fists are shaking with fury. He's wearing street clothes, a black hoodie pulled up over his head, and in his hand, he's gripping a steel chair. The camera zooms in on his face, and you can see it. The pain, the betrayal, the thirst for revenge. Braun and Reed immediately step in front of Heyman, ready to protect him. But Seth doesn't hesitate. He swings the chair with everything he has, connecting with Bronson Reed's skull. Reed drops instantly. Braun charges at Seth, but Seth is too fast. He sidesteps and cracks the chair across Braun's back, sending him crashing into a stack of equipment crates. And now, it's just Seth and Paul. Heyman's eyes go wide. For the first time in his life, Paul Heyman looks genuinely terrified. He backs up against the wall, hands raised, trying to talk his way out of this. He's saying something, probably trying to manipulate Seth one more time, trying to convince him that it was all a misunderstanding. But Seth isn't listening. Seth doesn't care. He grabs Heyman by the collar and slams him against the wall. The camera gets right in on Heyman's face, and you can see the fear. You can see him realize that there's no talking his way out of this. Seth leans in close, his voice low and venomous. He tells Heyman that he trusted him, he tells him that he gave him everything, and Heyman repaid the trust by stabbing him in the back. Seth's voice is shaking with emotion. This isn't just anger. This is heartbreak. This is a man who was betrayed by someone he considered family. And now, it's time for Paul Heyman to pay the price. Seth drags Heyman away from the wall and throws him face first into a production crate. Heyman crumples to the ground, clutching his face, blood starting to trickle from his nose. The crowd watching on the big screen in the arena is going absolutely insane. They're chanting Seth's name. They're cheering for every second of this beatdown. If you're feeling this intensity, if you're on the edge of your seat right now, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to SLAMZONE if you haven't already. Because this is what we do here. We break down the most emotional, most shocking, most unforgettable moments in WWE, and I need you here with me for every single one of them. Join the family. Hit that notification bell. Let's experience this together. Back to the chaos. Security is starting to rush in from both sides of the hallway, but Seth isn't done. He picks up that steel chair again and stands over Paul Heyman. Heyman is begging now. Actually begging. His hands are up, pleading for mercy. But Seth just stares down at him with cold, unforgiving eyes. And then he raises the chair high above his head and brings it crashing down onto Heyman's back. Once, twice, 3 times. Each shot echoing through the corridor like thunder. Heyman is screaming in pain. He's trying to crawl away, but Seth grabs him by the ankle and drags him back. This is where it gets even more intense. Seth pulls Heyman up to his knees, forcing him to look at him. And Seth starts talking. He tells Heyman that this isn't just about the Vision. This is about every superstar Heyman has ever betrayed. This is for Brock Lesnar. This is for Roman Reigns. This is for CM Punk. This is for every single person who trusted Paul Heyman and got stabbed in the back. Seth tells him that the cycle ends tonight. That Heyman's days of manipulation, of betrayal, of using people and throwing them away are over. And then Seth does something nobody expected. He pulls out his phone and starts recording Heyman's beaten, bloodied face. He tells Heyman to apologize, to admit what he did, to confess to the world that he's nothing but a coward and a snake. Heyman, through the pain and the blood, refuses at first. But Seth presses the chair against his throat, and Heyman finally breaks. He starts mumbling an apology, tears streaming down his face. Seth records every second of it. The humiliation, the defeat, the end of Paul Heyman's reign of terror. And just when you think it's over, just when you think Seth is going to walk away, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed start stirring. They're getting back to their feet, ready to attack Seth from behind. But Seth sees them. He spins around and charges at both of them with that chair. He's a man on a mission. He's not just fighting for revenge anymore. He's fighting for his pride. He's fighting to prove that even though they took the Vision away from him, they can't take away who he is. The architect. The visionary. The man who always has a plan. Seth battles both Braun and Reed in a brutal 3-on-1 fight. He takes shots. He gets thrown into walls. But he keeps getting back up. Because this is about more than just winning. This is about sending a message. You don't cross Seth Rollins without paying the ultimate price. Security finally manages to pull them apart. It takes 8 guys to drag Braun and Reed away, and another 4 to hold Seth back. But even as they're pulling him away, Seth is screaming at Heyman, promising him that this is just the beginning, that every time Heyman shows his face on Monday Night Raw, Seth will be waiting. The camera stays on Paul Heyman, crumpled on the floor, bleeding, broken, and utterly defeated. The man who always had the upper hand. The man who always had a plan. The man who thought he was untouchable. He's lying there, destroyed by the one person he underestimated. The commentators are losing their minds. Michael Cole is screaming about how he's never seen Seth Rollins this violent, this unhinged. Corey Graves is trying to justify what Seth did, saying that Heyman had it coming. The WWE universe is split. Some are celebrating Seth's revenge. Others are worried about what this means for Monday Night Raw going forward. Because if Seth Rollins is willing to do this to Paul Heyman backstage, what is he going to do when he gets his hands on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed inside that ring? And that's the question hanging over everything. What happens next? Because Seth Rollins just crossed a line. He just showed the world that he's no longer interested in playing by the rules. He's no longer the calculating architect who thinks 3 steps ahead. He's become something more dangerous. He's become a man with nothing to lose. And that makes him the most dangerous person in WWE. Paul Heyman thought he could betray Seth and get away with it. He thought he could manipulate the Vision into turning on their leader and face no consequences. But tonight, Paul Heyman learned the hard way that Seth Rollins never forgets. And he never forgives. The footage of Seth's attack is going to play on a loop for weeks. It's going to be the most talked about moment in WWE. Social media is going to explode. The dirt sheets are going to write articles about the intensity of the beatdown. And fans are going to debate whether Seth went too far or whether Heyman deserved every second of what happened to him. But one thing is undeniable. Seth Rollins just sent the clearest message possible. He's coming for everyone who betrayed him. Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and especially Paul Heyman. And he's not going to stop until every single one of them is lying broken and defeated just like Heyman was tonight. The implications of this are massive. because now Triple H and Adam Pearce have a huge problem on their hands. Do they suspend Seth Rollins for attacking Paul Heyman backstage? Do they fine him? Do they try to keep him away from the vision? Or do they let this play out and give the WWE Universe the war they desperately want to see? My guess is that Triple H is going to book Seth Rollins in some kind of no-holds-barred match or a street fight where he can legally get his hands on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And when that happens, it's going to be absolute carnage. Because if this is what Seth does backstage, imagine what he's capable of when there are no rules, no limitations, and no one to stop him. Paul Heyman, if he's smart, should be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his WWE career. Because Seth Rollins just proved that he's not afraid to hunt him down, no matter where he is. In the ring, backstage, in the parking lot, it doesn't matter. Seth is on a mission, and that mission is to make everyone who betrayed him suffer. And you know what? I'm here for it. Because after everything Seth went through, after being betrayed by the people he trusted most, he deserves this moment. He deserves to unleash all that anger, all that pain, and make them feel exactly what he felt. This is why we love professional wrestling. This is why we tune in every single week. Because moments like this, moments where the emotion is real, where the stakes are high, where you genuinely have no idea what's going to happen next, these are the moments that define an era. Seth Rollins attacking Paul Heyman backstage is going to be remembered for years. It's going to be in highlight packages. It's going to be referenced in promos. It's going to be one of those "where were you when this happened" moments. And if you're watching this video right now, you get to be part of that history. You get to witness one of the most intense, most personal, most brutal moments in recent WWE memory. So let me ask you something. Who do you think is going to win this war? Is Seth Rollins going to get his full revenge on the Vision, or are Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed going to prove that they were right to turn on him? And what about Paul Heyman? Is this the end of his on-screen role, or is he going to find a way to manipulate someone else into taking Seth out? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think is going to happen next. Tell me if you're Team Rollins or Team Vision, because this is just the beginning of what's going to be an all-out war. And while you're down there in the comments, do me another favor. Share this video. Send it to your friends who love wrestling. Post it on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. Let's make sure everyone knows about what Seth Rollins just did to Paul Heyman, because moments like this deserve to be seen by as many people as possible. This is history. This is wrestling at its absolute best. And we're all lucky to be witnessing it together. So hit that share button, spread the word, and let's grow the SLAMZONE family even bigger. The energy backstage after this had to be insane. You know the locker room was watching this on monitors, jaws dropped, unable to believe what they were seeing. Because everyone in WWE knows Paul Heyman. They know his history. They know how untouchable he's been for decades. And to see him lying on the ground, bloodied and broken, at the hands of Seth Rollins? That sends shockwaves through the entire company. Because if Seth can do that to Paul Heyman, what's stopping him from going after anyone else he feels wronged him? This is the kind of storytelling that makes WWE must-see television. This is the kind of moment that reminds us why we fell in love with professional wrestling in the first place. The drama, the intensity, the unpredictability. Seth Rollins just reminded everyone that he's one of the greatest performers in WWE history. Not just because of his in-ring ability, but because of moments like this. Moments where he makes you believe. Moments where you forget this is scripted entertainment and you genuinely feel like you're watching someone fight for their honor, their pride, and their legacy. Paul Heyman's betrayal of Seth Rollins was cold. It was calculated. It was brutal. But Seth's revenge? That was raw. That was primal. That was a man who had been pushed to his absolute breaking point and finally snapped. And the beauty of it is that this is far from over. Seth got his hands on Heyman tonight, but Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are still out there. They're still carrying the Vision forward. They're still claiming that they made the right decision by turning on Seth. And sooner or later, Seth is going to come for them too. And when he does, it's going to be even more explosive than what we saw tonight. The countdown is on. The war has officially begun. Seth Rollins versus the Vision. And every single one of us is going to be glued to our screens, waiting to see what happens next. Because this is what wrestling is all about. This is where legends are made. This is where careers are defined. And Seth Rollins just took the first major step in reclaiming everything that was stolen from him. Paul Heyman will never forget this night. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed better be watching their backs. And the WWE Universe? We just got the moment we've been waiting for since the betrayal happened. Seth Rollins got his revenge. And it was absolutely glorious. So before I let you go, one more time, hit that like button, subscribe to SLAMZONE, turn on those notifications, drop a comment with your thoughts, share this video with everyone you know. Because this is the kind of content that brings wrestling fans together. This is the kind of moment that we'll be talking about for years to come. And I want you here with me, part of this incredible SLAMZONE family, for every single unforgettable moment that's coming in 2026 and beyond. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about this story as much as I do. Seth Rollins just made a statement that will echo through WWE for months. Paul Heyman's reign of manipulation just took a devastating hit. And the Vision better be ready, because the Visionary is coming for all of them. This is SLAMZONE, where we bring you the most intense, most emotional, most unforgettable wrestling moments every single week. Until next time, stay passionate, stay loud, and never stop believing in the power of professional wrestling.